Our next stop on the Mystery Trail is in the foothills of the Andes in Mendoza province, Argentina. The camera can't quite portray the rich, glowing colours of these mountains. Each one has a unique chameleon skin that changes with the light as the sun slides overhead. They look like heaps of dry paint powder or crushed eyeshadow blended into stripes or swirls. Aconcagua Provincial Park is the perfect place for a ramble through these colourful valleys, with the white head of Aconcagua itself always in the background. At 6,961 metres, Aconcagua is the highest mountain outside of the Himalayas, and the highest peak in the southern hemisphere. The first recorded ascent was in 1897, but there is evidence that the Incas climbed it before that. A mummy of a 7-year-old boy was discovered in a stone structure at 5,300 metres. The Incas may even have made it all the way to the top, because the skeleton of a guanaco was found on the ridge connecting the north and south summits. Guanacos are pack animals, much like llamas, and it's unlikely they'd make it that far up the mountain on their own. 3 kilometres up the road from the park is Puentr del Inca. No more than a cluster of souvenir stores and cafes, with 1 or 2 hostels, it hides a true natural wonder. A bridge-like archway across a river gully, formed by mineral-rich hot springs. Charles Darwin visited here and was apparently rather fond of it. The bridge itself is overshadowed by the ruin of a luxury hotel and bathhouse. Built in 1925, it was destroyed by an avalanche 40 years later. You can still see the remains on the other side of the river, although these days you can't cross the bridge. Its natural structure was weakened by all the foot traffic, and it's now closed to the public. Puentr del Inca is so tiny that it's a surprise to see overgrown railway tracks passing right through the centre of it and on into the distance. This railway once connected Mendoza in Argentina with Los Andes in Chile. It was abandoned in 1984, and following the tracks on foot is now safe, even if the roar of nearby traffic reverberating through the rails makes it sound otherwise. It's not long before we're out of sight of the settlement, and we reach a high railway bridge spanning a little river below. On the other side, we happen upon an old bus, alone in the dusty belly of the valley. Getting close, there's a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Is someone living there? There's a fair amount of relief when we find it empty. The inside is covered in graffiti, in a mix of English and Spanish, and, of course, a reference to Alexander Supertramp of Into the Wild. As to who put it there, and why, and how, there are no clues to be found, but it couldn't be a more perfect reward for venturing out into the valley. Further down the railway lines, things get spookier still when we find a row of closed-up buildings. At first we keep our distance, but it soon becomes clear, from the boarded-up windows and the holes in the roof, that these too are abandoned. The ground is strewn with litter as we approach. Empty oil cans, broken bottles, and, once commonplace but now an oddity, reams and reams of magnetic cassette tape flapping in the wind and glittering in the sun. There's something quite menacing about the buildings. The complete darkness, the creaking and clanging of the loose boards and sheet metal roof. We're a little scared to venture indoors, but there is nothing but old rags and broken furniture. One doorway has been barred from the inside. Whoever did that must have left the room through the open window. A little creepy. Round the back we spot fresh tyre tracks. Perhaps we won't be alone for too long after all. Further down the valley there are makeshift tunnels with corrugated iron sides, presumably to protect the train from rocks falling from the mountainside. Time has been unkind here, and the rocks appear to have made their way through regardless. The dark tunnel has sporadic twinges of light through missing panels, the wind howling like a dry, dusty breath from the hills around. And our final surprise for the day? A shrine at the end of the tunnel. Plastic bottles filled with something, an ice cream menu, a strange little statue, and a religious icon on dusty card which is too unclear to make out. For most people, this is a quaint little roadside stop-off on the way to the Chilean border. For us, it's been a stunning adventure to the past. There are surely more mysteries hidden here, but those are for another day. That's about it for this episode. Don't forget to visit our website at www.themysterytrail.com and check out our Twitter, Instagram and Facebook links in the comments. See you soon.